Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Thursday. It's December 13th. This is going to be our chart lesson for the day, and this is going to wrap it up for the week. No chart lessons on Fridays. I still haven't decided what I'm going to do next week. I may work Monday and Tuesday. Tuesday will probably be my last day, and then I'll take off for the remainder of the year, and probably won't be back until January the 2nd, which would be Wednesday. So Wednesday, January the 2nd. So again, I'm not sure about Monday and Tuesday yet. I may work Monday for sure, maybe Tuesday, and it just depends on how the weekend goes, how tomorrow goes, and how I feel next week. So um, if I'll actually put something out between now and then, regardless. So I'll let you know either way what I'm going to do. But just don't be surprised if I take the remainder of the year off. So really good trading day today. It started out looking like it was going to be a trading range. You could see that, and we actually finally, what we ended up having was we had a little failed. Actually, I don't know if I'd call this a failed break higher, but we tested the overnight highs, and then we spiked down and went into this two-tier channel. So this is like a little spike and channel down, and still a lot of sideways action in here. You could still play this sideways. But there is a two-tier channel working lower here. You didn't get a lot of options off the trend lines. You really had to go to your shorter term stuff, but you can see prices working off this trend line and working off the lower side. And I actually got this off the low end and drug it up to the highs, and so it did come into play here and again here after 2 o'clock. So we did have an overall somewhat of a downward bias, but let's back out. We'll talk about the trades, and we'll wrap up today, and we'll wrap up this week. There will definitely be a mid-morning chart tomorrow morning, but past that, I just don't know yet. But let's back out, talk about the trades. And you had to be a little bit patient today. There was a trade right at 7, but then we didn't really get a really good trade again that I liked until 8:45 or so, and then you just had to be real patient. And then finally we got this downtrend, and there's just a lot of trades off this downtrend here. But you had to be really patient. There were a couple in here like this one. You could argue for this one. There's a double test. It's off the trend line. It's only a first entry, but this is one you could argue with, or argue for, I guess I should say. This one was tempting. The signal bar is really here, and it's just too bearish. It is a second entry when it breaks above there. You could say, all right, let's let it break above this one, drop a limit order back, but it never would have triggered. So that's another one that you could argue for, but it wouldn't have triggered, at least not on my chart. If your chart was a little different and you had a good signal bar, it's a second entry long, right at the EMA. When we came off a triple bottom, there's a double test here. If you'd have had a really good signal bar here and it'd been, during, after 7 o'clock or even here, I'd say take either one of those trades, but that's a little bit too early. Well before I come in anyway. So, and this one happened right at 7, so you had to be here ready to go. And then notice that we made the double test, double bottom, then we shot up here, went right through the EMA, pulled back with a failed second entry short right there. Actually, your failed second entry short was here, and this is just another little attempt, and it bounces right off that trend line. So I like that one, making this a second entry short. And this was actually before 7, so you wouldn't have got the opportunity till here. So I like that one. Nice bullish reversal type bar. And off it goes. And of course it comes back. We already talked about that. If you'd have had a really good signal bar here, maybe. You could also look at this as a failed second entry short, so you may not care so much about the signal bar. But with that bar being so big, I'm probably going to wait on a better trade. But notice that low, and you're going up, and it pulls down, you get a first entry, then it goes higher and it breaks below. So that's technically a second entry short. So you may take that one. And of course we're working higher, and then you come back to the trend line, and this confirms it. It's not a perfect bar, and it's a first entry. It is a double test, and you could look at this as a bottom, a new low, so a first entry, second entry. So you could look at that as a failed second entry short. Again, I'm not crazy about all that, but if you want to be aggressive, there it is. Then we run up, you make a new high, you make a lower high here, and it actually breaks higher and turns down. So if you wanted to have a sell stop right there, that gives you enough room to get out before you get back to the trend line if it goes straight down. And the EMA, which we've already had a little break, so I would expect it at least to try to hit this EMA, but it could bounce there again and make another leg up. So if you waited on this bar, you're really getting too close to the EMA and the trend line. But if you went short right there, and if it goes higher and comes down and comes out that side on your chart, that's where you'd go short. There's a failed second entry long right there that it actually broke lower before it broke higher here on my chart. So I don't think I'm going to take that trade. You could wait and go short down here, let it break below, and maybe even drop a limit order up. And you might have got filled, but I think you're better off just to wait for it to come back here and treat this all as one move. I mean, it's just one tick higher, and all those bars are bearish. So this is really more like a failed second entry long. So if it breaks below that, I'd assume that's a trap coming off that, and there's your good move down. So that's the better entry right there. I'd almost treat that like it's not a break higher. It's just all one move down. Actually, there's a break higher here, and then all one move down, and then there's your next break. We run on down. There's a higher low here, but that bar's too neutral, and you don't get another pullback here. And I'm not crazy about this one. It does make a double bottom there, the first break of that channel. And you would figure you do have enough room before this high, and you figure we're probably going to test that high and maybe the next one. So you might take that trade. Again, I'm just not crazy about it. And then of course we do make this double top on the overnight high. Big bearish bar. You do have a break. That one's really, really tempting. And it does break higher and then turn down. So that's another one you could almost argue to be at least green. I think you need to wait on a lower high here because that's a fairly strong move up there. You can see how much momentum that's got going, and there could be another swing out here. It doesn't turn out to be that way, but that's a long way away. It is a double top, so you may take that one, but there's a lower high right away and it breaks higher and turns down. That's the place to go short right there. It looks a lot like this over here. And if you catch that one, you catch a runner, and then you get a failed second entry long here, and that one catches a runner. And then notice you make this new low here, first entry, come up second entry, right where you would expect a key entry point to be. But actually you wouldn't probably have this channel in place yet. You really needed that swing. You might have had it a little steeper earlier and would have had to adjust it. So you may not have had this right here, but that's a relatively small bar, second entry short right at the EMA and the prices that are moving down on what looks like a range. So that's a good one. Then you get two legs back here. This is technically not a second entry short because you made a lower low right there, but it's still two legs back to an EMA. One leg pull back, second leg. So you could treat that the same as a two-legged pullback to the EMA and the trend line, and that does confirm that trend line. Relatively bearish bar, so I like it. You're too far away from the EMA and too low, and then you get a little overshoot. Move up first entry, and you make a little higher high and fails. Second entry short right there when you're looking for a new low. You did get an overshoot here, but I still would probably take that with that strong a trend down. I'd probably still take that. And we move down and we make a little higher low here, but then a first entry, a second entry, and notice that trend line working up. You get to break a new high, and you also get a little trap here. So it's a second entry short, but it actually went higher and made a little bit higher high and then reversed instantly. And so I like going short right there. If nothing else, just to ride it back to the EMA, but we may go on down and make that new low. And guess what? That's exactly what happens. It takes a little bit to get through this support and make that new low, but it makes it right there. Actually, I don't think we quite made a new low. Let me take that back. Let me look at it. No, we didn't even quite get to that. I thought it was at least a double bottom, but no. We didn't quite make that new low. It tried really hard and it just couldn't get there. But anyway, you make a lower high right there. Failed second entry long right there. And by this time, this low is moved down to I would have had it across those closes right there. And so you still got plenty of room there for that failed second entry long. First break of that trend line right there. So you expect that we're going to try to make a new low on it anyway, which we do make a new low on that one. It just didn't make a new low for the bigger channel here. And that's tempting to go long, but that's just too much congestion by that time. You can see it stacking up there. You might look at that as that failed break lower that gives you the important low of the day. So, but I'm not really crazy about it. You might argue for that particular one, but once we didn't get back above that EMA, I'm not taking anything else if it continues to go across there. Notice that it does make a first entry and then a second entry, and it fails and it confirms that trend line. Fairly bullish bar. I like that one. And I really thought we'd break on out of there. Doesn't happen. We get a break of this channel and you get a little bit of a trap here, but again, that's just so much sideways and you don't have a lot. If you wait for this bar to close, you don't have a lot of room. With it breaking lower and going out, you might go long right there. Because you would expect that we may try to make a new high. So that's another possibility. Again, I'm only going to make it green. It's just, anytime you start to go sideways like that, unless you got a little bullish bar very near the low with plenty of room to get out, it's always a risk. And then we run up here, and again, we're a long way away from the EMA, but that's your signal bar, that huge bar right there, and you don't have anything up here that really says, hey, this move is over, especially, I don't have that trend line on there, but you can see that. You don't want to be going short right there. And you don't make a lower high to here, but I like that one. It broke higher, big bearish bar, go short right there. And I would look for a measured move down there. I didn't talk about it anywhere else, but there's some other measured moves in there. Well, I didn't get that one just right, but you can see we got real close. And then you actually make two legs up, and there's a second entry short there. But this is right at that overnight low, and you're on both sides of it. You might take that one. That's another one, but we've already had a break and a new low, and there's a couple of swings down. So that one's really risky, but you might take that one. There's not enough evidence to say, hey, we're in a range there at that point. If you move this to the far right hand side, you can see, if that's all you can see, that looks like a second. I mean, it is a second entry short with enough room to get out. But notice you do have your break and two swings down already, and this is the overnight low, so that makes that very suspect. But there's still some reasons to like it, and it would have worked. And you actually get a double test, but that's right back into the lows. You ain't got much room there now. Finally, you come back and test it again, and you can look at that as a double test of that. And this is a relatively small bar near the top, mostly bearish. Not a perfect signal bar, but you may take that one. We tried to go high too many times there and not made it, so we're probably at least coming back down to this, test this low again. And then we bounce up. You get a first entry right there, and it fails. And notice you're back inside there with a bullish bar. We're probably headed back to here at least, so I like going long there. Runs back up, and it just kind of pushes through. I'm not going to be taking any longs in there, and I don't really see any shorts I like right here either. You get a lower high right here, but it didn't break higher. You actually had a lower high right here, but it's right back into this support resistance. Failed second entry long here, and it would have worked, but again, you're right at the original support resistance line, and you're kind of swinging both sides of it. This turns out to be a really nice trade, but I don't think it's worth risking. Lower high here, it's a first entry. You run on up and you get a second entry short right here, but look at that trend line working up. And you're back above the EMA, and you're back above this line. I don't have it drawn all the way across there, but you can see it right there. I don't know if I got it drawn exactly right, but I think it's more like that right there. But I wouldn't be taking that short right into that in with a possible trend line there. You do make a lower high here. Again, it's right there at that line. It's right into these lows here. But the bias is definitely down, and we just came off what looks like to be the midline again. So that's another possibility. Again, it's a huge bar. But the good thing, it is a huge bar, but it's a huge, very bearish bar that closes on its very high or opens on its very high and closes on its very low. That's a very bearish sign. So I'll give that one a green one. And of course, we bounce and we push back up through that overnight support resistance line, and it comes back and tests it and give you a bullish bar. We're probably headed back up to this side now, and off it goes. And again, it's tempting to go short right here, but it's still inside that trend line. There's still a lot of momentum. There is two legs up, basically two measured legs. You can see that. Off it goes, and you get a lower high right here, right off that key entry point. It is back to this line, but we've already pushed through there twice now, and we just pushed through there again. So I wouldn't put as much stock in that line at this point, with that being off this key entry point and that being a huge bearish move down. Just go short right there, and off it goes. And that's when it got stuck in here. And I just don't see anything in there that makes me want to go long or short. There's not any bars near the low that are bullish, really. This one you could say, but it's right back to the EMA. There is enough room to get out before here, but that's really not your signal bar. This whole bar here is really the signal bar. It makes the low right there. So it does tick lower and turn up right there. Maybe you want to go long there, but again, I think you're better off just to stay out of that. And I don't see anything that I really like here going into the 2 o'clock hour. There was a little bit of a trap right there. It went lower and turns back up. So that's another one that, you might argue that'd be green, but that late in the day, I'd want a really good setup. And I don't have it drawn on here, but there's a trend line working up through there. And it is right off that trend line. So I just can't get a hold of that thing. Frustrating. Never grabs the one you want it to grab for whatever reason if you got multiple lines in there. But anyway, you can see that this is basically a double top, or double bottom, first entry, second entry, right off the key entry point. You might go long right there. It would have gotten enough to get your scalp, and then it reverses. So, and that takes you into 2 o'clock hour. This was the meat of the trading day right here, from about 9:15 or so until about 10:15. That hour of trading was ideal right there. And then when it starts doing this, where it's swinging back and forth and getting in these tight, this is where you got to be really, really careful. And that's why there's just not a lot of trades in there, especially like down here this late in the day. There's just nothing I like there at all. So it doesn't mean you couldn't find a trade in there that you might argue for, but honestly, I think you're better off to stay out of it. Just like right here, swinging back and forth above that support resistance line, just not a great place to be entering. So unless you couldn't trade this period of the day, it's my experience that usually the mornings are always better, and you'll hear me say that from time to time. And you can see there's a nice trend down there all morning that was a really good trend, and then you can see how flat it got right in here. We still got a downward bias. There is a two-tiered channel working down, but it just doesn't give you a lot of. It gives you really 3 good setups up here, but for other reasons they're not great, because they're still within the the upward trends that are working up. This one maybe not, but you wouldn't have had that trend line yet, and you really wouldn't have drawn it. You would have had it by here, because I drew this one off the lows, and you can see how well it fits across there, and it bounces off those lows each time and goes back to either the midline or the other side. And so you would have had it in place before here. So this one is another one that maybe, but that's just such a steep trend. I'm not crazy about it, but I'll at least make that one green. But anyway, there it is. I'm going to wrap it up for the week. Again, I'm not sure what's going to happen on Monday yet. There will be a mid-morning chart posted to the site in the morning. I will trade tomorrow, but we'll just have to see how the rest of the week or the start of the week goes. I know I'll only trade Monday and Tuesday of next week if I trade, but I may not even do that. I just haven't made up my mind yet. And if I don't come in and trade, then I'm not going to come in and do a chart lesson either. So we'll see. I'll keep you posted, but I'm done for today. So I'm going to wrap it up. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.